Hi, my name is Dr. Joe Anderson, and I'm going to be your embedded tutor for this semester's writing course. I wanted to make this video to tell you a little bit about who I am and what you can expect from embedded tutoring. I am a writing teacher. I've been teaching for several years. I've taught in a lot of different places, and I've also been tutoring for a lot of that time. Some of the different places that I've tutored have included around Washington, D.C., and in Pennsylvania, and Maryland, and Georgia, and here in Las Vegas. And we were able to roll out the first round of embedded tutoring over the summer. I was a part of that, and it was a great success. Embedded tutoring is the idea of having a tutor that is dedicated to a specific class, rather than students going to the tutoring center and asking for help. We would have one tutor who kept up with the course, was familiar with the content, and would then be able to help students one-on-one as they came to that tutor, much the same way that you would be helped at the Centers for Academic Success. So now let's take a minute to take a look at suggestions for a successful session with your online tutor. This is, you'll find this on our Canvas site. This is under first week resources. So come to tutoring early in the semester after you first begin to have trouble in the class. I would say come to tutoring even before that. Come see me. Even if you don't necessarily have anything that you need to have taken care of, because you can get familiar with me and you can get familiar with the technology, and so when it comes time that you might actually want to sit down and talk about a problem that you're having, you're just going to feel more comfortable in general. I say don't wait. Test your technology. So one of the things that you can do when you come to see me is you can go ahead and test that technology. And again, if you don't have anything that you need to talk to me about specifically, that would be a great chance to make sure your technology works. One thing to keep in mind about online tutoring is that the technology becomes really important, and we only have so much time that we can talk in a tutoring session, so we really want to facilitate that by getting any sort of technology issues out of the way. You may not be comfortable with using a microphone and or a webcam. My suggestion would be to at least use a microphone, because that really is a lot faster and can be a lot clearer in terms of communication than trying to type. For my part, I'm going to turn on my microphone and camera all or most of the time, again, to try to facilitate things and just so you know that I'm there and that I'm paying attention. Another one, choose a comfortable and safe location. Plan ahead and choose a quiet location that allows you to concentrate and hear and communicate with the tutor. So I wanted to come outside and shoot this just to be outside. But when it comes down to it, this is actually a really terrible place for me to try to communicate with a student. It's really, really bright out, and it's really hard to see a computer monitor, and it's really hot. I have 2 fans, blowing right at my face right now. So this is not a really, this is nice for doing this one time, but when you actually see me in tutoring sessions, chances are that I will be indoors, unless it's a little bit later in the fall. Read all material and try the assignment before the tutoring session, then you can ask specific questions. So one of the things that I always do when I open up a tutoring session is I ask, what 1 or 2 major issues do you have right now that you'd like to get help with? Another one is have all your course materials, syllabus, textbooks, etc. The big one that I think it's really important to have is your assignment sheet and your syllabus, which might include a grading scale. If we have these things, then most of the time we can figure out what we need to do. But the assignment sheet is especially important. That said, if for some reason you can't find your assignment sheet or your professor didn't give you an assignment sheet, don't worry. Come see us anyway. That's a very, very important point. Don't let anything prevent you from coming and getting help from the tutor if you feel like you need it. Another point from the Study and Style Guide, set reasonable goals. It may not be possible to get answers to questions about an entire semester in one tutoring session. And I would say set reasonable goals for yourself, set reasonable goals for the tutor, and set reasonable goals for the situation, being that this is online and it's kind of a new format for you and for us. One thing to remember is that we may not get to everything during a single session. That's another good reason why it's important to let us know one or two things that you want to focus on. Because if you, say, have two things that you want to look at, and we spend our whole first session looking at the first thing, well, then there's that second thing that still needs to be covered, which means that you should come back. Another point that I think rolls in really well with the previous one, be patient, particularly during busy times such as midterms, final exams, and days assignments are due. Consider that if the assignment is due for you, then the embedded tutor might be fielding the assignment for everybody else in your class or for a lot of other students. So really kind of try to plan your time out is, I think, the important takeaway from that. Don't necessarily come and see us at the last second. Make sure that you give yourself and the tutor the time that you need to actually revise, to do the things that you're being instructed to do before the due date. A lot of people come right before the assignment is due, and we only really have so much time to work on so many issues at that point. So really keep that in mind. So then the last point on the study and style sheet is be responsible. Asking for help and guidance is what a strong college student does. But it is the tutor's role to help and guide you, not to do the work for you. So one of the common things that we get is a student who will come in and ask that a certain piece of writing be edited. And unfortunately, we don't really offer editing or proofreading services. We will sit there with you and we will help you understand what you need to do with your essay, but ultimately it will be your responsibility to do those things. So now I have a couple of things that are just my own tips that I'd like to cover. And this is really more for your own writing. So the first two roll together, and they are talk it out and read it out. So what do I mean by talk it out? Well, a lot of the time when we start writing, we will sit down in front of our computer or with our notebooks and we'll stare at that blank page and we'll try to figure out what it is that we want to write. One of the ways that we can really kind of avoid having to face that blank page is if we've already got material in some fashion. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to take a walk. If there's a certain piece of writing that I need to do and I need to get my ideas together, I'll go for a walk and I will take out my phone, which has a voice recorder app on it, and I will record my thoughts. And then I can go back home, and in the old days, I used to have to sit there and listen to that recording and type up the important parts, which is good because then that means that I don't have to worry about typing up everything. You know, you're not going to use every single thing that you say if you're kind of thinking about it out loud. But anymore, one of the nice things that I do is I use voice recognition software that just listens to the audio track for me and then puts it on the page. And I have at least the start. You know, I have notes for some piece of writing as it develops. Once you actually have something and you're trying to revise it, one of the best ways that I've found to read your work out loud. Read it slowly and read it as though you're reading it to somebody, because if you read it as though you're reading it to somebody, if something doesn't sound right when you're reading it out loud, you're going to hear it. You can just stop. You can make a note on your page that you need to do something with that particular sentence or whatever it is. Maybe you know what you need to do and you can make that note there and then you can move on. Another trick that I use, and this is kind of an advanced trick and you really have to have patience for this, is if you're revising and you really want to make sure that every single sentence is tight and that there's a purpose to it, read your work backward. Now, not word by word, but sentence by sentence. Read the very last sentence first and ask yourself, What's the point of this sentence? Is that point clear? Am I doing what I need to do with this sentence? Is it a good last sentence? And then read the next to last sentence. Does this sentence really kind of set up my last sentence? And continue through that backward for every sentence in your essay. And again, you have to have patience for this one. There are really two specific problems that I see with student writing over and over again: wordiness and choppiness. These are the most common student writing problems. So if you have these problems, that means that your writing is, well, pretty normal for student writing. You have to fix these issues, but they're very common problems to have. Yeah, you have to fix it, but also just keep in mind that you're not alone. They're kind of the opposites of one another. A wordy sentence is a sentence with too many words. The more words that you use to say something, the greater the likelihood that you will mess that statement up. The more words you have, the greater chance that you have that something about that statement will go wrong. So we want to make sure that we're using the words that we need, but we're not using more words than we need. If you can say something in 5 words or 7 words, but you're saying it in 15 or 20, well, yeah, it may sound more academic at first, but there's also a really good chance that you're actually using words that get in the way of your meaning. With composition, you want to make sure that your language is not getting in the way of what you're actually trying to say. And so if your sentences are wordy, that can really be a problem. Now, the opposite end of that is sentences that are too choppy. There's a difference between an idea that is simply stated and an idea that is simplistic, right? You can state Einstein's theory of relativity in simple terms. I can't, but somebody can. Simplistic ideas are see Jane, see Jane's dog, see Jane's dog run. Choppy sentences is that they really flock together. So where you've got one, chances are you've got a bunch. If you've only got one short sentence, that's not necessarily a choppiness problem. But if you've got a bunch together, then that's something to be concerned about. So now that we've talked about a couple tips, let's talk about how to find me on Canvas. If I had a listing for a class yet, I could click on it, but even though I don't, I'll just click on CAS Embedded Tutoring Program. Now it's going to look a little bit different than this. In our class, you're going to find some things that will be useful, including how to actually conference with me live online. And let's look at that one first. So over here on this side, we see conferences, and we're going to go ahead and click that. So new conferences, and I'm starting the conference, but you will see a button to join it instead. Okay, so we have our tutoring session open in big blue button. Now you can see me over here, but when you actually see me in the session, you're going to see me up here. But I'll get to that in a moment. I want to kind of familiarize you with a couple of the different things. Now, your screen may look a little bit different than mine does, may not have all the same options. But over on the left, you can see here I am. You would see your name listed here as well. And then in this next column over, you can see that we have what's called the public chat. Now, when our tutoring sessions go live, when a tutoring session starts, what happens is I'm basically in this room by myself. And whoever comes by happens to come by. That means that if you have an issue that you want to ask me about and we start talking and another student comes in, can they see us talking about whatever it is that's going on with your essay? Yes, they can. Now, should you treat that as a so make sure that you're writing something, of course, that you're okay sharing with others, including your teacher and a tutor, or even having read out loud. We have the chat, and if for some reason you can't get on your microphone or you're having problems with it, then you can use the chat to communicate without having to use your microphone. Hello, this is me using the chat feature, and it looks exactly like you would expect to find any normal sort of chat room. on the right-hand side, kind of taking up the whole right-hand side, we have the whiteboard. And it's a good idea if you email me before you come into the chat session. That would really be great, because that would give me time to actually take a look and expect to see you in the session, and I can have some stuff kind of ready to go, maybe some tips all set to go. One of the things that I use the whiteboard for is if we need to interact with the essay right here, we can do that. So if I wanted to turn on my microphone, well, my microphone is already on. You can actually see up here, if I go silent, you see how that dimmed? And if I do it again, it'll dim. So it knows when you're talking when the microphone's on, right? And that's the thing that you can do to double check to make sure that your microphone hears you, is to see if it's lighting up like that. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and share my webcam, but I'll click on Share Webcam, and I'll click on Allow. Now, I'm using Chrome, and I'm actually using Chrome on a Chromebook. Your menu pop-ups might be a little bit different depending on what sort of system you're using. So let's go ahead and click on Start Sharing. And if you want to, you can actually drag that down if you need to see the tutor or the professor or whoever you're talking to more clearly, or you can drag it up so that you can get a better view of the whiteboard. Okay, so there are lots of other things that you can do with this particular big blue button, but I think that that's as much as I want to worry about reviewing today. So anyway, please do make sure that you come and see me. Anytime you need any help with any of your writing, I am absolutely here to help. You can reach me here on Canvas. You can also get me through my email address, and those two ways should be pretty reliable. So thank you very much for watching all this, and I hope that this has clarified things. If you have any questions, go ahead and send me an email right now. Don't wait, right? Just shoot one off, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, well, have a great day and a great semester, and good luck with everything.